he puts a woman over his purpose. So the woman he's dealing with has to be aligned with his purpose. She has to add to him. She cannot take it away. So if you're not where you need to be at and she hollering, oh, he ain't doing enough, he ain't paying these bills or taking me shopping, listen, cut that bitch off the roster.
Snapchat. I am currently sitting outside the laundromat washing my and my girlfriend's clothes. Not only that, but I'm one of them niggas. I have a very jacked up sleeping pattern. Like, okay, I'm someone that wakes up at 1 and 2 in the morning on like a Wednesday. Like, to put that all in perspective for you, like I'm someone that gets up early. You know what I mean? Just in general, like the Navy fucked up my sleeping pattern, and I ain't never been able to fix it since. So, I mean, that may be something I need to go get seen about, but it's one of those things that works to my advantage. I get a lot of stuff done like 1 a.m. to like, about around 7. Because once the traffic starts, I'm off it. I'm someone personally that took the whole, like, not having 24-hour Walmart. I'm taking the lack of 24-hour Walmart, I'm taking that very personally. So, whatever. Now, my homeboy sent me this, right? And usually he sends me shit, that's kind of, how can I say it? This dude flew this girl out and didn't fuck. Or, this girl trying to finesse this. It's very hood-based. What is the pattern I'm noticing about a lot of shit he sends me. And then the other stuff I get be very, like, what men think versus what women think, in the sense of, like, who perspective, if that makes sense. So, I mean, I think it's a very healthy blend of content I get sent. And then there's things I find that compel me. This is one of the ones he sent me that has really compelled me to talk. Like, you can tell because I'm doing it on a Saturday morning. Usually I leave this fucking Snapchat shit alone on Saturday and I just kind of bullshit, do my life and work out. But, as I was riding around doing these Uber orders, I kept thinking about it. So I was like, all right, let me just go ahead and do this shit and get out the way because I have a lot to say. Now, the 15-second clip. A man loses the second he puts a woman over his purpose. Now, look, I think it's one of those, I think no truer statement has been said. Now, look, based on the internet and just based on the shit you hear women say, you know what I mean? Women have a tendency to say things that they don't really mean. Let me tell you what I mean by that, right? You do not want to be first in a nigga's universe, right? Even when you, like, okay, girls say that type of shit because it sounds good because other bitches say it. It's like, okay, like if you was to watch The View, right? The girls the women that are on The View, that, like, let's say Lonnie Love and all the motherfuckers, they can't admit on national television that they probably suck some nigga's dick in the back seat of a fucking car, on a drunk night type shit. And I mean, as a 40-year-old, like, they can't come on TV and say that. You know what I mean? So they have to act as if they don't live that way, or they have to come across as if men are the problem. It's just, what I'm saying is, it's just certain shit that chicks can't necessarily admit to. Like, for instance, right, when you watch, like, someone, let's say, like Steve Harvey, right? Now, no, look, Steve Harvey's a man, just like the rest of us. Now, I think he is a special case, but Steve Harvey cannot come on national television and be like, listen, you bitches ain't shit, right? You cannot market a show that is based around relationships to women talking that real nigga shit. Like, look, I used to get mad at motherfuckers like Derek Jackson and like Steve Harvey, and I'm not making this about them, but I'm saying, like, there's a facade that motherfuckers have to have in order to fuck with you. You know what I mean? Even in the sense of, like, oh, like when girls say I want to be first in the nigga's universe. I don't want to be second. I don't want to come second ever. Listen, if the way a man's drive and dedication works, I'm talking about a specific niche of man. If a dude were to put that level of time into you, you would become very annoyed by it. You do not want no guy in your face putting you first in everything. Now, what you do want is to be considered, meaning, like, or to be a part of the plan. Like, okay, you can't come first, but you can't not be a part of the plan either. So you are a part of the entire thing, if that makes sense, right? You know what I mean? Being first in a nigga's universe means, like, okay, he go to work, he worry about where you at. You go out, he worry about where you at. He calling you, checking on you. Hey, babe, do you need this? Do you need that? Do you need this? Like, okay, I think y'all take that being first shit and y'all mix it and confuse it with being considered. And what do I mean by being considered, right? Personally, I'll use myself, and I think this is what made me compelled to the topic, right? Personally, the thing that gets me out of bed, right? There's two things that get me out of bed in the morning. You know what I mean? Trying to better the gym, and then trying to take over the world, Pinky. It's literally those two. And what I mean by take over the world, I mean, I want to work myself into a space where I'm financially free. That's like the big one for me. You know what I mean? Because I didn't grow up with money. You know what I mean? I don't know nobody with money. I'm the richest motherfucker I know. Meaning my mama called me for money before I call my mom. My dad will call me for money, but motherfuckers call me for money. I don't get to call other people for money. I don't have that privilege. My sister will call me for money. So in my brain, the way I look at shit, it's one of those things where it's okay, I gotta wake up, and as soon as my feet hit the floor, I gotta figure out what's the next step and where am I going with life and what am I trying to accomplish here? You know what I mean? Or what's the plan? That's what compels me when I get up. Second thing is fitness. Fitness is one of those things with me. It's driving me. Fitness has brought me to a space where it's I'm starting to care about fitness more than a lot of other shit. Meaning okay, fitness is one of the main reasons I want to quit this job. And follow me here, right? If I was a guy that just driving a truck and that's the only thing I give a fuck about, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. Arguing, me getting mad about the truck wouldn't be a thing. You know what I mean? What gets me mad about the truck sometimes is that I put so much of myself, okay, driving a semi-truck takes so much out of you to the point where you can't put energy into anything else. It's it's becoming Navy-ish, where it's bleeding off into other areas of my life. And again, it's not like I don't make decent money as a truck driver. I do all right. You know what I mean? But the shit that it takes to do it. For instance, okay, I like doing Uber on the side, for example, right? I do if you had to ask me which one I prefer doing Uber. I really like the whole delivery aspect. I kind of fuck with it. You know what I mean? Because it's not strenuous. It doesn't take a lot of thought. It's not a lot of hard work. Not only that, but I like working by myself. I'm not someone that cares about coworkers. I don't give a fuck to talk to a coworker. I just don't. You know what I mean? I'd rather do the Uber thing more often than not, right? But the way the trucking shit is set up, okay, for instance, right, this whole week, I've been working 12 straight hours. And I mean, that's getting out in the heat, that's getting out in 90-degree weather, fighting with equipment, shit that don't work, getting back in, okay, the way a truck clock works, once you start the clock for the day, that clock is constantly running, and you have a certain amount of time to do everything you need to do within that time of the truck. What I'm saying is that between all that and pre-trips, post-trips, dealing with equipment, shit getting broke, the heat, the elements, because the best time, if you had to ask me, the best time to drive a truck is in the fall. That's just my preference. I don't like driving in the summer because it's too fucking hot, and it's literally, okay, picture driving a truck, and then you have to now fight with the elements and work outside while doing it. The truck driving within itself is a lot, right? Okay, it beats me down to the point so much that I don't even want to fuck. That's how bad it is. It takes that much energy out of me to the point where I'm just look, man, not tonight. And I'm just telling you, that's how much it takes out of me. So it's it's very life consuming. That's not something I want to do long term. And don't even get me started on driving in the winter. And I'm not making this video about truck driving. I'm just telling you this topic within itself brings a lot out of here, right? Driving in the winter, driving an SUV through the snow. Listen, most motherfuckers in the city can't drive in general. Then you add snow on top of it, and motherfuckers is in the ditch. Now imagine driving in that same condition with a fucking 20 plus ton truck behind some chick in an Altima that don't know what the fuck she doing, is stuck in the mirror, and is half scared. And I mean, that's the whole freeway. Again, there's been times I've had to dig my truck out of literal snow. And it's okay, I would spend like 2 hours digging my truck out of snow, getting it unstuck, right? Then on top of that, I gotta work my 12. Then on top of that, the motherfuckers that I'm working for a bunch of motherfuckers that don't know shit about driving a truck and how a truck clock work. Like, okay, I'm supervised by people that don't drive the vehicle. So when they think of distance in the sense of like, you ever heard a motherfucker think they're gonna get there exactly the same time as a Google map? That's how motherfuckers in office of a truck company work. Like, they think because, it takes 2 hours to get here, that it's gonna be exactly 2 hours, and it don't work like that. Like, getting off on a tangent here, but I'm just saying, like, truck driving has consumed my life, right? And I remember when I was a kid, I hated it, right? My dad, what he would do was, I played the Xbox. He's like, hey, son, come with me. You want to just go to the store real quick? He would use that come to the store with me real quick to get me off the game. And what he would do was he'd keep me off the game for 2 days. It's not so much that I didn't want to get off the game and go with him, but it was the backhandedness in which he did it. And again, I'm not making this about that. I'm just telling you where my head's at when it comes to, like, having a purpose. Like, I really truly want to work my way out of this trucking shit. Like, not only that, but in conjunction with fitness, right? The space I'm at with fitness is going to require me quitting a job. Okay, they're going a couple times a week and maybe an hour here and there. That's not enough for me. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be able to have the energy to do boxing classes. I've tried to do boxing classes after driving a truck. And listen, it's like a literal gauntlet. It's like a marathon. Like okay, I would work. There was times I did take boxing classes, right? I would work like a 12, get up at 5 or whatever, 4 or 5, get there in the morning, work my 12, get off, probably rest for like another 2 hours, go do this strenuous ass boxing class, and then be sore for the next 3 days, right? What I'm saying is I only want to be sore from working out, not from a job. It'd be one thing if I was sore from a job and I was living in a 6-bedroom house. And the older I'm getting, the more I'm starting to value time. Like, okay, despite how rich motherfuckers may be or how poor someone is, because I've seen sometimes I get off the highway and I see like the homeless, whatever. And then sometimes I watch TV and I see like motherfuckers that are doing multi-billion-dollar deals. The one thing we all have in common is that we all have the same amount of time, the same 24 hours in a day, right? And the older I'm getting, the more I'm starting to understand how valuable that really is. It's not so much about the money. It's more so about what you can do with the 24 hours in your day, right? Now, if you had to ask me, this is how I look at jobs. So, you take it how you want, but this is just my theory, right? If you, let's say you're a woman, right? I'm using a woman as an example because y'all be the main ones wanting to, get out the workforce. Let's say you work like a little regular job. You crank 8 hours at that job. You work 8 hours and then you get home and then you're tired for another you're tired for another 4 hours. In my head, you're working 12, right? In my head, that adds up to be 12. The time it takes you to recover from the job on top of the job itself, you might as well tack that time onto the job. Your body is still at that job based on the effects that it's had on you. That's just my way of looking at it. So technically speaking, I don't work 12. I work about 15 hours a day because when I get off work, man, there's been times I've had to get off work and I've had to take muscle relaxers. That's how much it beats me down. Well, it's been like that lately because it's been really hot, right? Now, again, being sore from a workout, totally different aspect, right? You're making yourself better and you're getting, okay, I'm more than down for being sore from the gym. I'm cool with being sore if it has a point. But to just be sore because I worked the job and then the job itself is not enough to okay, if I gotta be this tired, my girlfriend shouldn't have to work. I'm not saying she wouldn't want to work, but I'm saying it shouldn't be one of those things where she's has to work 5 days a week. That's just how that's how the gears in my head are starting to turn. It's okay, the time to me is way more valuable than the money I may make sacrificing for the time. Does that make sense? Right? And when it comes to purpose, right? In comparison to women, I don't have that thing in me anymore that tells me to just chase bitches because, when you're younger, your hormones are just hormoning and you feel like you gotta fuck everything, right? I can see why most men kind of have an upswing in their 30s because your drive for sex kind of dips a little bit. When you in your early 20s, mid 20s as a guy, you feel like you gotta be all over every chick that you run across. It's not so much like that in your 30s. Like, you may look, you may like even approach, but like after a while, like when you go through the nonsense that it takes to actually get a girl, it's almost like, okay, I'm gonna pick which one of you motherfuckers has the least amount of bullshit going on, and I'm gonna stick with you. Like, because look, a man that's trying to have something, I mean, listen, depending on what type of guy you are and depending on what the level of time management you have, you do not have time to be up behind some fucking dumbass skirt. Like, you don't have time, bro. Like, man, listen, the motherfucker, you're setting aside time, right, to set up a date for a motherfucker. You get on a date with this girl, and then you find that she's like, oh, well, hey, can you pay? Look, you know, I just figure I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna get my light bill paid. And I'm not saying this is every woman I'm just saying this is an example. You know, I'm trying to figure out how to get my light bill paid. You know, my son got to get his daycare paid for. You know, my baby daddy ain't acting right. Me and him fight a lot, and you just be looking at. And I'm talking about you are a guy that want to have something. Like, you looking at this bitch like, nah, like. Especially when you keep running into it. Because look, in comparison, as a guy, from a guy's perspective, most bitches come with way too many problems to take them on. Like, look, if you wonder why men, like, why y'all struggle to get in relationships so bad, or why y'all struggle to keep a nigga, is because a lot of y'all got way too much going on, and it's like, okay, as a guy, you're put in the position of being the head, meaning like you're the one that's responsible for everything. So let's say you are a woman with 2 or 3 kids and, you know, 1 or 2 baby daddies that, you know, still think they want to be with you. It's like, okay, I'm already raising 2 kids that ain't mine. Whatever. Not so much about the kids if you ask me. Then I got to deal with 2 niggas that don't know what the fuck boundaries are. I've almost had to shoot motherfuckers behind shit like that. So it's like, I don't have that in me anymore to keep contending with people that have that type of shit going on. And that's not race specific. I'm saying people be having a lot of shit going on and expect you to just swoop in and fix their problems as if I got a fucking toolbox for life and everything that you got going on. And then you got to think realistically, right? In comparison to your purpose, a lot of women are a bad investment. So, I mean, like, okay, it's like this, right? You might as well pick a girl that you fuck with that can handle the sex. Because, like, okay, I think of, like, my girlfriend sometimes. Like, in totality. Like, I think of her sometimes in totality. And it makes sense for me to be with this motherfucker. Like, listen, there are days where I've almost been about to snap in half from just working my job. And I've been worn thin to the... Like, you ever just wearing the eraser down to the metal part? I've been that. And then I open the fridge and I see a plate. Like, the plate. Let me tell you about the plate, right? The food plate. And I'm just saying this for women across the board. I don't know about how most niggas are. That food plate that she cooks has been the difference between whether I was going to pick a fight or not. Like, I've been mad at this motherfucker and ate her food, and I was like, you know what? It ain't even worth it. Like, it ain't worth picking a fight over. Like, listen, I don't know what the fuck she seasons it with. I don't know who taught her to cook, but I'm one of them type of niggas, you feed me, you got me. That and like respect, those two. Like, because I don't, look, I'm a guy, I can cook, but like, okay, my cooking's a 3, her cooking's a 12. And what nigga want to come home from a hard 12 hours a day and make his own goddamn plate? Like, you talking about some shit? Man, listen. You work in the sun all day. You done been stressed out at work, all this other bullshit. And then you come home and you gotta fix yourself a bowl of top ramen. Like, not saying top ramen ain't good, but it ain't made with the same, like, love in it. Now, again, when in comparison to a purpose, you would think that would be enough to pull a motherfucker first. And in a sense, it's not, right? In comparison to my own life in totality, the things I need to do to make myself a better man. Because you got to think, me being a better man benefits everybody. Me being more up your ass as a woman doesn't help anyone. Because now I'm off focus from the shit that I need to be doing for the both of us. So I understand how it sounds when it's said, like, oh, well, a woman shouldn't come first. It doesn't, like, okay, I can see a woman listening to that and being like, what the fuck? Like, why would I not come first? I do all this shit for you. Like, your immediate response would be is like, well, I do all this stuff for you. Why can't I come first? Nigga, if I get off this job, you don't benefit, right? I have to be locked in. And I have to be locked in at all times, right? Maybe take a little, like, okay, personally, right? Because you wonder why men are not as compelled to go out as women. Like, women, y'all need to go out. Y'all need to go to the bar. Y'all need to hang with your friends. You need to be socialized. Understand that's a privilege. Because you are not a guy that has to, like, okay, in comparison to your husband, boyfriend, your significant other, you don't have to work as hard to prove as much. You are the beauty standard, which means in the sense of, like, you know, mammalism or whatever, like hunting and shit, you are the prey, which means all you gotta do is get cute. Like, you just gotta powder your face. Like, you don't even gotta be a good person. Like, you gotta just look good and stand there and just hang out with your friends, and a motherfucker will find you. To be the guy that finds you, whole nother level of problem, right? Me and my homeboy was talking about this shit yesterday. It was like, look, if we had money when we was younger, we wouldn't be good people because we would have leveraged the money to get the shit that we wanted. But because we was broke, we had to learn to develop personality traits. Meaning, like, okay, he's someone that's really good at talking. Like, I would tell Huggy, if every conversation I had with Huggy, I'm like, bro, you probably need to work the front desk at a Verizon. He has that gift of gab. He's one of them people, he will talk to anybody. I am an introvert. I am a thinker. If you give me long enough, I can work out the angles to just about anything. But as far as talking, like, okay, me in a bar, right? If I'm sober in a bar, I'm going to be irritated as fuck, right? Because I'm sitting there and I have a girlfriend, so it's like I'm not talking to the women. I don't give a fuck to talk to dudes. And like, depending on what's on the screen, I don't watch basketball, so I'm just in that motherfucker just staring off into space. So I have to have a drink to be a part of it. Problem with that is I have to leave my car because I can't drink and drive, and then come back up this motherfucker in the morning to get it when I could have just not drunk at the house. All this sounds, look, it sounds unfun, but those are the things I have to go through. Like, you know what I mean? It kind of kills the vibe somewhat for most people because I'm sitting there not drinking because I don't feel like coming back to get my car in the morning, and then because everybody else is having fun, they're looking at me like I'm being a Debbie Downer. Not only that, right? But as far as party and bullshit, just in comparison, like, okay, when I think of like this topic, it's almost like the purpose in comparison to the women. Look, I've done the woman thing before, and look, being good at women is just one of, like, okay, what being good at women does for you long term, it helps you. Like, look, you do need to be good with it because you do eventually want to get a wife or a kid, not a kid, but I'm saying, like, you have to eventually get a wife in a relationship, and you need to know how to navigate a woman's emotions, right? The only way you're gonna learn that is if you deal with a lot of bitches. Like, you can't be no incel, I'm in the house motherfucker, get a wife and think you're gonna know what the fuck you're doing. There has to be a level of experience that comes with dealing with a motherfucker, because the way a woman's emotions are set up, a woman is a constant. Right? Even when you get one long term. Listen, niggas think the game gets easier when you get a wife. It gets harder. Because now you dealing with a woman 24/7 versus dealing with a bunch of chicks when you feel like it, right? And the reason why this topic is such a big deal, because, look, women don't ruin men's lives. Men ruin their own lives by listening to women. And let me explain what I mean, right? Y'all let women talk y'all into not doing this shit you need to do for yourself. Like, okay, what most men fall into is like, you know, I just need to be put first, and I just need, because women need so much more than us. Like, so you fall into that fucking protector bullshit that you've been conditioned to believe in, where it's like you gotta always make sure she's okay. The problem with that is that it takes a lot to make sure a motherfucker's always okay. Like, you can sit there and pay all the bills in the house. You can sit there and put all the food in the motherfucker. You can buy her a truck. You can make sure she hangs with her friends. And a motherfucker will still find something wrong with it. Like, just based on who they are as a person. Again, that is specific from woman to woman, because I try to really watch how I blanket statements. But what I'm saying is, as a guy that has shit that's trying to, because as a guy, your life is a lot more linear. Like, if you sat down with yourself as a dude, right, and you wrote out the shit you need to write out and that you need to do, it's very, very simple to do. You know what I mean? life ain't complicated as a dude. Women make it complicated when you start listening to what the fuck they're talking about. Like, a lot of times, personally, my girlfriend goes hang with her friend. She goes, does what she want to do. And occasionally I spend time with her. That's not to say I don't care. But, her hanging with her girlfriend, she's going to have a lot better of a fun experience than if she took Debbie down to Ronell. What I mean is, I'm not going to be in the event having fun the same way she is, because I have to now be put in the position of supervisor. Meaning, like, even if I'm having fun, I can't get lost in the sauce like that, because I got to make sure she okay. Versus, like, when she's with her homegirls going to crash out the same way she is. Potentially. You know what I mean? You ever seen 4 chicks in the Altima? They don't be giving what the fuck where they going. They don't give a fuck if the tires are bald. They don't give a fuck if they got oil in the car. They don't give a fuck if the transmission slipping. Long as the car is going, that's the only thing them bitches give a fuck about. A man cannot be in a situation like that and just crash out the same way a chick does when she's drunk. I mean, like a dude that's on top of his shit. I'm talking about a specific niche of man. Not only that, but like a guy that's on top of his shit that's really like purpose driven, you also come across boring. Meaning, like, okay, there's a level of toxicity that you do somewhat have to have for a relationship. And I mean, look, the level could be a 1, the level could be a 6. It just depends on what woman you're with. You do need to be a little bit toxic, right? Because you can be a good man on paper. All that shit sound good, right? It's cool, whatever. Women like excitement, right? They need something. They need to, like, okay, if a woman looks at you and she gets the feeling that she gets from like a fucking lamp on a table, y'all shit's not gonna last that long. So the way you create that is you have to stay on, like, you have to like have something that gets you out the house besides, like, oh, okay, like what most guys do, they hear women say, like, oh, I need attention, I need all this other stuff, I need to be number one, right? And what a guy will interpret that is like, okay, I need to be here all the time, I need to be here, I need to be in place, just in case she needs me, right? You have to leave the house and find something that you give a fuck about that is tailored to you, personally, as a man, right? There's got to be something that you give a fuck about that gets you out of bed in the morning, that makes you, like, okay, the thing that makes women stay is the potential of, 1, love, and then 2, wondering what motherfucker might be going with their life. And I'm saying this is specific to woman to woman. Every woman's needs are different. Some girls like a man that do a little bit. Some girls need a nigga that pay everything. It just depends on where you fall in that, right? What I'm saying is this, that you have to have something that you yourself as a man give a fuck about. Like, it's got to be something that drives you, something that gets you out of bed, something that you want to do, right? And not only that, but that woman need to see you work on that in real time. Like, because look, you can tell a motherfucker you got all these plans and shit that you're trying to do, whatever. When a woman sees you do it, if anything, if a motherfucker love you, she almost wants to get involved a little bit. Like, hey, what can I do to help? That's a motherfucker that fuck with you, right? What most niggas do, they date these motherfucking passenger princesses to life. Meaning, like, I'm a woman, I don't feel like I gotta do anything because I was taught to be raised to let a man do all the providing. And to some degree, I understand that thinking. But I think where women fuck up is that y'all come out here in the real world trying to find y'all daddy in other niggas. Your daddy is 20 years older than you, 20 to 30 years older than you, right? Which means he's had time to develop and figure his life out. So by the time you get to a point where you are old enough to see what he's been doing and he's able to provide for his wife and all this other shit, you were not there for the journey. I mean, like, old enough to understand the journey that he probably took to get to where he had to provide the shit he could provide for you in today's time. Does that make sense? And I'll leave you with this, right? Women don't want to win, they want to win, right? When it comes to the whole being on the grind shit, doing the grind, right? Sometimes I get up at 1 a.m. in the morning. No one makes me get up at 1 a.m. I get up on 1 a.m. on my own accord, right? Get up at 1 a.m., do a little bit of Uber. I may pick up 1 or 2 orders, whatever, because listen, I sleep less than most people, which I probably sleep from like maybe 9 to like maybe 1 in the morning, right? Those are my hours of sleep. Get up at 1, do a little bit of Uber, and start driving my truck at 4 something, right? 4:30. Excuse me. I get off at 4, I'll do 1. or two more Ubers. And, you know, I may do a little bit of research on like an LLC or something, or a business idea, like, and then I got to include the gym and all that, right? Most chicks ain't trying to go through all that. What girls want to do is they want to work their regular job, get off, you know what I mean? Probably go do a little sipping paint, watch a little bit of TV, watch a little makeup tutorial. Because I watch what my girlfriend watches. She watches, most girls either watch the makeup tutorials or they watch the murder mysteries. Like, I don't know what the fuck it is with women, but y'all are obsessed with murder. Like, whatever. But y'all watch the murder mysteries. You want to have fun on the weekends, go do an activity. You just don't want to be bored. You want to have fun, right? So the hero's journey ain't necessarily your lot in life. Not only that, look, not saying you can't be a shrewd businesswoman, but it's not necessarily the most attractive thing either. Like, dealing with a motherfucker that's just as competitive as you, it's not exactly, like, okay, most motherfuckers probably don't necessarily try to fuck the business owner. Most motherfuckers that own businesses fuck the secretary. Like, they don't fuck the motherfucker that has the same Fortune 500 company. That's not necessarily the most attractive thing to a dude, like, because it comes across masculine. Not only that, but the character traits you got to have to run a company like that as a woman, you almost have to become a dude a little bit to do that. So again, no, you don't put a woman before your purpose. You never put a woman before your purpose. And again, I know that doesn't sound the kindest, but at the same time, bro, you putting yourself first as a man is what's going to benefit everybody. Because, like, imagine, right? You, your wife, and your kids live in a home. You go down because of whatever, you didn't take care of your health. Or shit go under because you wasn't on top of your money and you just decided I'm going to just take it easy. I'm going to throw this bitch in cruise control, and your wife and kids suffer from it. So personally, me, I don't take a day off from trying to be a man. And I mean, I'm saying that, and I know it sounds, cliche when I say that, but no, like, okay, I got up this morning at 1 o'clock, did a little bit of Ubering, I'm washing her clothes. I'm probably going to find me something to eat, and I'm going to go lift weights. After that, I may catch the Deadpool movie. I may rest after that, right? Depending on what needs to get done. But I'm not off the motherfucking wagon too long. You know what I mean? You can't, as a guy, you can't allow yourself to sit in the passenger seat of your own life as a man. You just can't. Like, because when you let a motherfucker drive for you, like, personally, me, even in the sense of this car, I don't like to let nobody drive for me. Like, no, I don't trust nobody behind the wheel that much, right? It's the same thing with my life. I'm not finna just leave this shit to chance. No, I'm at the wheel directing this shit in the way it's gonna go, all right? And that's just how I feel about it. But again, this is a topic my homeboy sent me. I mean, usually most topics that he sends me, I do Monday because they don't really be that deep to me. But this one was one that really compelled me to talk. So, again, I'm gonna go do what I just said because that's the type of nigga I am, goddammit.